Jack Holloway's horse stopped at the edge of the ravine. Below, a cabin lay crushed under pine and snowdrift, roof caved, walls splayed like broken ribs. He nearly rode on. Then he heard it, a cry, faint as wind through branches, a baby. He dismounted fast, boots sinking in fresh powder. The storm had passed at dawn, leaving the Montana Canyon silent and white. Jack approached the wreckage, listening. There, beneath splintered timber and canvas, movement. He dug with bare hands. Splinters cut his palms. Cold bit through his gloves. He threw aside beams, clawed through frozen debris. His breath came hard, clouding the air. A woman's face emerged, pale as the snow around her, unconscious, in her arms, wrapped in a torn quilt. A baby girl, maybe 8 months old. The infant wailed, her cry weak but alive. Jack pulled them free. The woman's eyes fluttered open for just a moment. She looked at him, not with fear, but something else. Relief, maybe, or recognition of fate. "Emma," she whispered through cracked lips. "My Emma." Then nothing. Jack assessed quickly. Woman's breathing shallow. Baby hypothermic. Nearest town 8 miles through snow. His cabin 3 miles back, off the ridge trail. No choice. He lifted them both. The woman weighed almost nothing. He tied her carefully to his saddle, cradled the baby inside his coat against his chest. Her small body shivered against him. He rode into the falling dusk. Wind picked up, carrying the promise of more snow. The baby whimpered once, then went quiet. Too quiet. Jack kicked his horse faster. When he reached his cabin, he shouldered the door open. The fireplace sat cold and dark. He laid the woman on his bed, the baby beside her. His hands shook as he struck the match. The first flame caught. Light filled the small room, illuminating 3 faces in the darkness, his weathered and desperate, theirs pale and still. He didn't know yet. This moment would change everything. Dawn came gray through the single window. Jack had kept the fire burning all night, fed it until the cabin grew warm. He'd wrapped them both in every blanket he owned. The baby stirred first. Emma. Her eyes opened, dark, searching. She made a small sound, not quite crying. Jack had no idea what to do with a baby. He found goat milk in his cold cellar, warmed it by the fire, dipped a clean cloth in it, let her suck the fabric. She took it, hungry. The woman woke slowly. Fever burned in her cheeks. She tried to sit up, couldn't. Her eyes found Emma, then Jack. "She's all right," Jack said, drinking. The woman nodded slightly. She didn't speak, just watched him with those careful eyes, weighing, measuring, deciding if she could trust. He brought her broth. And she drank a little, slept again. By the second day, Jack rode to town. He needed medicine, more milk, supplies. The general store smelled of tobacco and leather. Mrs. Henderson ran the counter while her husband worked the back. "Jack Holloway," she said. Surprised. "Twice in 1 month. What brings you?" "Need some things." He kept his list short, his answers shorter, but Mrs. Henderson had a nose for gossip. "Heard you took in someone. Woman and a child?" "Storm casualty. Cabin collapsed." "Where's her husband?" Jack met her eyes. "Dead, I expect." He paid, left before more questions came. When he returned, he found the woman sitting up. She'd cleaned his dishes, folded the blankets, small gestures, careful, like a guest trying to earn her keep. That evening, they ate together, bread, stew, silence. Emma sat propped between them, laughing when firelight danced on the wall. Jack felt something crack inside his chest. something he'd buried 6 years ago when his own wife and infant son had died, when he'd stopped being a man who lived and became a man who just survived. The woman watched the fire. "Why did you stop?" Her voice was hoarse, barely used. Jack stared at his hands, calloused, scarred. Couldn't not. She looked at him then, really looked. After a long moment, she nodded. Later, she stood at the window, outside. Snow still covered everything. No trails, no escape. "I have nowhere to go," she said quietly. Jack felt the weight of those words, the responsibility, the risk. Then stay. They both knew it wasn't simple, but sometimes the right choice never is. 2 weeks passed. Snow began its slow retreat. March brought mud and the promise of green underneath. The woman's name was Sarah. She told him over morning coffee. A week after, she could finally stand without shaking. The rest came in pieces. While they worked, she knelt in the garden plot behind the cabin, sorting seed packets Jack had brought from town: bean, tomato, carrot. Emma crawled on a blanket beside her, grabbing at grass. "My husband died last year," Sarah said, not looking up. "Typhoid. His family blamed me. Said I brought bad luck." Her voice was flat, matter of fact, like she'd told the story so many times it had worn smooth. "They took the house. I went west. That cabin, I thought I'd be safe there." Jack chopped wood nearby, each strike of the axe precise. "Controlled. You were alone? Better alone than with people who hate you." He understood that. Split another log. "My wife died. Son, too. Same fever." The words came hard, unused. 6 years back. Been here since." Sarah's hand stilled on the seeds. She looked up at him. Snow still clung to the distant mountains, but the sun felt warmer than it had in months. "You gave us life," she said. "That's enough." She reached out, touched his hand briefly, just her fingertips on his knuckles, but it was the first touch between them that wasn't about survival. Both of them froze. Emma squealed, breaking the moment. Hoofbeats approached. Jack turned. Pastor Williams rode up the trail, his collar white against his dark coat, his smile professional. "Jack, heard you had guests." "Sarah and her daughter, storm survivors." The pastor dismounted, glanced at Sarah, polite but measuring. "Wonderful that you helped. Christian charity." A pause. "Though folks in town are curious about arrangements, how long she's staying." Jack's jaw tightened. "Long as she needs." "Of course. Of course." Pastor William smiled. "Just people talk. You understand. Propriety matters, especially with a child involved. Let them talk." The pastor's smile never wavered, but his eyes hardened. "I'm trying to help you, Jack. Think about appearances." He left soon after. But the warning hung in the air like smoke. That night, Jack watched Sarah tuck Emma into the crib he'd built from scrap lumber. She hummed something low and sweet. The baby's eyes closed, her breathing evening out. They were already a family in everything but name, and the town wouldn't let that stand. Spring came fast once it started. By late April, the garden showed green shoots. Sarah worked it every morning, her hands learning the rhythm of this new soil. But town was different. She went for flour one afternoon. The general store fell silent when she entered. Women turned their backs, whispered just loud enough, living in sin. That woman, poor Jack, being taken advantage of. Sarah paid quickly, left without a word. The ride home felt longer than it was. She found Jack in the yard, teaching Emma to walk. He held the baby's hands while she toddled forward on unsteady legs. When she fell, he caught her. They both laughed. Sarah watched from the fence. The contrast cut deep. This joy, this simple moment, against the world's cold judgment. A neighbor rode up as evening fell. Tom Fletcher, whose land bordered Jack's to the south. Good man, usually. Jack. Word of advice. Town council's meeting next week. About your situation. What situation? Tom glanced at Sarah. Uncomfortable. You know how folks are. They're talking about asking you to make things proper, or asking her to leave. Jack's face went hard. This is my land, my business. I know. I'm just saying. Pressure's building. Tom tipped his hat to Sarah. Rode off. Inside, after Emma slept, Jack and Sarah washed dishes together. Their hands touched in the water. He turned to her. She looked up. The space between them felt charged, electric. He leaned closer. She didn't pull away. Emma cried out from the other room. The moment shattered. Sarah stepped back quickly, cheeks flushed. We can't. This isn't real. Feels real to me. Feelings aren't enough against a whole town. Jack. She went to Emma. Jack stood alone in the kitchen, water dripping from his hands. That night, through the thin wall, he heard her crying softly. He made a decision. He'd marry her, make it legitimate, silence the gossip, and give Emma a name, a future, give Sarah protection. But first, he needed to ask her properly, not out of duty, out of choice. Tomorrow, he thought. Tomorrow I'll tell her. He didn't know tomorrow would bring different plans entirely. Emma woke screaming. Sarah reached her first, felt the fever blazing through the baby's nightgown. Jack. He was up instantly. One look at Emma, convulsing, her small body rigid, and he knew. He'd seen this before. Stay with her, keep her cool. He was dressed and moving. I'm getting the doctor. He rode through darkness, pushed his horse hard. Pounded on Doc Miller's door until the old man answered. Bleary and annoyed. That annoyance vanished when Jack explained. They returned by dawn. Doc examined Emma while Sarah hovered, pale and shaking. Scarlet fever, Doc said finally. She'll live or die by morning. Keep her cool. Make her drink if she can, and pray. Sarah's face crumbled. Jack caught her as her knees gave out. They took shifts through that endless day and night. Jack would sit with Emma while Sarah slept fitfully. Then Sarah would take over, singing soft and desperate, while Jack paced outside. In the dead hours before dawn, Sarah broke. I don't deserve this, your kindness. God's punishing me for— Stop. Jack knelt beside her chair. God doesn't work that way, and neither do I. Then why does everything I touch fall apart? You didn't collapse that cabin. You didn't bring fever. You're just living. That's not a sin. She wept. He held her. Doc pulled Jack aside before he left. I'll come back tomorrow. Check on her. A pause. Town council got to me. Jack said I'm enabling immorality by coming here. This might be my last visit. Jack's hands curled into fists. She's a baby. I know, I'm still coming, but thought you should know what you're up against. By morning, Emma's fever broke. Her eyes opened, clearer. She reached for Sarah with a tiny hand. Relief hit like a wave. Sarah and Jack clung to each other, crying and laughing at once. But when Emma fell asleep again, healthy sleep this time, Sarah stood. "I need to leave." Jack went cold. "What?" "Before I destroy your life completely, the town won't stop. They'll take Emma. Ruin you. I can't. You are my life." The words came fierce, desperate. "You and Emma, don't you see that? Then let me protect it. By going." She pulled out her old bag, started packing while Emma slept peacefully. Jack watched, paralyzed. Torn between keeping her and letting her go, which was love, which was selfishness, he didn't stop her, not yet. The town hall meeting was called for Thursday evening to discuss community moral standards. The notice read. Jack went alone. Sarah wanted to stay back, but he saw her slip in through the rear door. Emma bundled in her arms. The room was packed. Oil lamps threw shadows on walls. Faces he'd known for years looked at him like a stranger. Pastor Williams stood at the front. "We gather to address a matter of conscience. Jack Holloway has, for over a month now, housed a woman of unknown character. No chaperone, no marriage, a child present, witnessing this arrangement." Jack stood. "Her name is Sarah. She's a widow. I gave her shelter after a storm. Where's the sin in that?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "The sin," a voice called out, "Mrs. Henderson, is in the appearance. What that child is learning. What example it sets." Someone else rose. "I have here a letter, anonymous, yes, but from someone who knew Mrs. Sarah's past." He began reading. Claims of abandonment, infidelity, a husband who didn't die but fled. Lies, but poison spreads fast. Sarah stood in the back. Jack saw her face go white. She turned, pushed through the door. Emma's cries echoed as she fled. Jack moved to follow, but Pastor Williams blocked his path. "Let her go. Jack, it's for the best. Get out of my way. We're taking a vote. You have 2 weeks. Send them away, or face complete exile. No trade, no help, no church." The pastor's voice dropped. "And there are families here, good Christian families, willing to take that child. Give her a proper home." The threat landed like a punch. Jack left without another word. He found Sarah at the cabin, packing. Emma cried in her crib, overtired and confused. "I won't let them take her." Sarah's hands shook as she folded clothes. "Or ruin you. I'll go west, find work, disappear." "Sarah, no." She wouldn't look at him. "I should have left when I could walk. This is my fault." Jack wanted to argue, wanted to promise he'd fix it. But doubt crept in, like cold through cracks. Was he being selfish? Was keeping her here destroying everything? He stood silent while she packed. That night, he sat alone by the fire. Sarah and Emma slept, or pretended to. He stared at the flames until they blurred. Jack didn't sleep. He watched embers die, watched darkness give way to gray dawn. Memories came unbidden. His wife's face, his son's small hand. The day they died, the hollow silence after, the years since, just surviving, half a man, half alive. Then the moment he'd pulled Sarah from the wreckage, her eyes opening, the baby's cry. The first time in a decade he'd felt anything but numb. They didn't just receive his help. And they gave him something back, a reason to wake up, a future to build toward, choosing safety now, letting them go to spare himself pain. That was choosing death again. He stood. The sun was rising, painting the mountains gold. Sarah was in the kitchen, feeding Emma. She didn't look at him. Jack knelt in front of her chair. Not a proposal, something deeper, a covenant. "Don't go. Jack, listen, not for me, for Emma. She deserves to grow up somewhere she's loved, where she's safe, and you deserve to stop running, to have a home." What about the town? Your life? They can't take what matters. We're already family. Sarah, let's just make it true. Her eyes filled. They'll destroy you. They already tried. He took her hand. Whatever comes, we face it together. You're not alone anymore. Neither am I. Emma looked at him. Clear as day. She said, "Da." First time? Sarah gasped. Jack's vision blurred with tears. The baby reached for him, and he gathered her up. Sarah stood, wrapped her arms around them both. They stood there, 3 people holding each other while morning light filled the cabin. "Sunday," Jack said finally. "I'm going to church. I'm going to ask you properly, in front of everyone." Terror and hope warred on Sarah's face. "They'll destroy you. They already tried. I'm still here." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Emma patted Jack's cheek. "Da, Ma." The words she'd needed. The family she'd always known. Now they just had to fight for it. Sunday came clear and bright. Jack wore his one good shirt. Sarah dressed Emma in the little dress she'd sewn from flour sacks. They walked into church together. The silence was deafening. Every head turned. Gasps rippled through pews. Mrs. Henderson clutched her Bible like a weapon. They sat near the back, Emma on Sarah's lap, perfectly calm. Pastor Williams began his sermon. Something about righteousness and separation from sin. His eyes kept drifting to Jack. Halfway through, Jack stood. "Before you judge, hear the truth." The pastor stopped mid-sentence. "This is not, it's my turn." Jack's voice carried, steady. "You all know the story by now. I found Sarah and Emma in a collapsed cabin, brought them home, cared for them." He looked around the room, met every eye that would hold his. "She's guilty of nothing but surviving, being a widow, trying to protect her child." "And you?" Mrs. Henderson called out. "What are you guilty of?" "Being too afraid to live, until they showed me how." He turned to Sarah. She stood slowly, Emma in her arms. "I'm asking you, before God and this town, will you marry me? Not out of obligation, not to silence gossip, but because I love you, because Emma deserves a father, because we're already family." The room erupted. Half the congregation rose in protest. Pastor Williams demanded order. But Sarah's eyes never left Jack's. "Yes," she said, clear, certain. "Yes." Emma giggled, grabbed for Jack. "Da." A woman stood in the middle pew, Mrs. Fletcher, Tom's wife. "Enough." Her voice cut through the chaos. "I lost a child once. I know what grief looks like, and I know what love looks like." She looked at Pastor Williams. "There's been enough judgment. Let them be." Slowly, others stood. Not everyone, maybe not even half, but enough. Tom Fletcher rose. Then old Mr. Chen from the Mercantile, 3 families from the North Farms. The Justice of the Peace stood from the back. "I'll marry you, right now, if you want." Pastor Williams started to protest, but Mr. Chen cut him off. "Your authority ends where decency begins, Reverend." They moved outside. Those who wanted to witness followed. Those who didn't stayed inside. The ceremony was simple. No flowers, no music, just vows under open sky. "I do," Jack said. "I do," Sarah whispered. Emma squealed her approval. The justice pronounced them married. Some clapped, others walked away. Jack kissed Sarah, brief, gentle, real. They walked back to the horses. A family now. Officially, not everyone agreed. But enough people had stood with them to make a difference. That was enough. 6 weeks passed. June brought full summer. The garden Sarah had planted in early spring now burst with life. Beans climbed stakes, tomatoes hung heavy and red, herbs scented the morning air. Emma ran between the rows, chasing butterflies, nearly a year old now, steady on her feet. She laughed when they landed on flowers just beyond her reach. Jack worked on the cabin addition, a proper nursery, a workshop, building their future, one board at a time. Sarah tended the garden. Her hand rested on her belly, just a small curve, barely showing. Jack had noticed. His smile had said everything. Town remained divided. Some neighbors returned, cautiously, offering help with harvest, sharing gossip over coffee. Others never would. The church had split, half following Pastor Williams, half meeting in Tom Fletcher's barn with old Mr. Chen leading hymns. But life continued. That was the strange gift of time. It kept moving. Evening came soft and golden. They sat on the porch Jack had built last month. Emma drowsed between them, full of dinner and sunshine. Sarah leaned against Jack's shoulder. "Think the town will ever fully accept us?" she asked. "Don't need them to. Just need us," she smiled. "Us is enough? More than enough." The mountains turned purple in the distance. Somewhere, a meadowlark sang its evening song. Jack thought back to that winter day, the collapsed cabin, the desperate dig through snow, the baby's cry. How close he'd come to riding past. How different everything would be if he had. "Never thought I'd have this again," he said quietly. "Have what?" "Tomorrow. Something to look forward to." Sarah's hand covered his. Emma's small hand reached up, patted them both. 3 hands stacked, soon to be 4. Inside, the lamps glowed warm. Outside, the garden grew. Above, stars began to appear. Winter had passed. Spring had come and gone. Summer was here, and autumn would follow, and another winter after that. But this time, they'd face it together. The family built from rubble, rooted now, and growing. Jack stood, lifted Emma carefully. She murmured, half asleep. Sarah rose, her hand in his. They went inside together. The door closed softly. Spring had come, and with it, the promise of all the springs to follow. The end.